All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Doing that thing you do, breaking my heart into a million pieces, like you always do. And you don't mean to be cruel. You never even knew about the heartache I've been going through. Well, I tried to forget you, girl, but it's just so hard to do. Every time you do that thing you do.
And welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. I am Rob McConnell, and for the next 2 hours, I'm your host and your guide as together we will cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X Zone. It's a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard. It's a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. And the X Zone comes to you Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until midnight, right here on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, and AM and FM affiliates across Canada and the United States. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And my email address is very simple, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. And if you'd like to check out all the great programming we have available for you with our compliments on the X Zone Broadcast Network, just go to www.xzbn.net. X Zone Nation, my first guest tonight is Joanne AZOO, and she is an EVP specialist, clairaudient, empath, and co-founder of OJ Paranormal Investigators, along with her son Brandon, who is an EVP Tech, videographer and editor, as well as a clairvoyant and seer. They started their ghost hunting journey in 2006 and found out that they receive spirit messages that are very specific and helpful to their clients. Joining me now is Joanne AZOO, and Joanne, welcome back to the X Zone. Great having you with us.
Oh, thank you, Rob. I'm very excited to be a returning guest. I appreciate that. And congratulations, by the way, on your 36th anniversary.
Yeah. Well,
for your podcast. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, if I could only get rid of a couple of years prior to that, so I bring my age down, that would be super. But they say you're only you're only as young as you feel, and dealing with the great people that I have on the show, like yourself, I feel as if I'll never get old.
There you go. I feel the same way about you, too.
Oh, my goodness. What was it that brought you to being an EVP Tech, as well as all the great things that you do with your son?
Well, as I, in the last conversation, basically it was an accident. I was an avid ghost hunter, watcher, television, and one of our neighbor friends wanted to hear her daughter's voice again, who had passed away in a car accident. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we could do that. But, I guess we could try doing that. And all the lights in the house popped on as we were having the conversation in our front foyer. And I knew that was a sign. And there you go. And so that's how we started. Picked up a little recorder and found out we can get messages, and she did hear her daughter's voice and about 19 other messages. So it went.
It just when I hear it from people like you that the lights went on and all this happens, I'm telling you, if I was in a dark room and the lights went on, I'd be out of that room so darn fast it wouldn't even be funny.
Well, there are times that when you're not expecting it, it could be very off-putting. But when you're having a conversation and spirit's definitely chiming in, you see that as a definite sign, especially when you go around debunking that the fuses are fine. There's nothing else wrong. But yeah, the only place I've run out of is my home at one point when I thought someone was in the house, but it was spirit. But but yeah, true story. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And I always try to look at the bright side and go, now I could relate to our clients who do get scared, because, I'm not going to get scared if there's spirit around. So, yeah. But yes, I definitely went running. They even apologized.
Really?
Yes, it was really crazy. I wish I had video of me running. I looked like Fred Flintstone.
Yeah,
I was not
remind.
kidding. I was like,
You run like Fred Flintstone. I used to go out with Wilma Bush before she married Fred, so there we go.
there you go.
Why is it that some people, like yourself and your son, have the ability to see, hear, and better understand the spirit world, where other people, it's like listening to a rock?
I think that I believe that all people are capable of having those experiences, and I believe that when we talk to so many people, they'll say, "Nah, I don't believe in all that," and then they'll pause and say, "But when I was a kid, or something kind of happened." But just we like to try to debunk things. We don't think that everything is paranormal, but when you start thinking about it, a regular person's not going to go around going, okay, is there someone outside that just said that? They're just going to like blow it off like, yeah, someone was outside. But when things start happening is when they call us, actually.
I would imagine that you.
Point, yeah.
I imagine you listen for that all-important catchphrase. You're not going to believe this, but.
Exactly. And so we approach it as first well, let's see if anything else could have made that move or made a noise, or is this around an anniversary of someone that that passed away, or a birthday, and so we try to just go down the little steps, and by the time we're done, even before they get the transcript or information, they feel more at ease. They don't feel like someone's going to, as I had one client say, watching all the horror movies that they do, that someone's going to be dragging them, dragging them under the bed or something. Seriously.
Yeah.
And that's really what, the other part is, taking that fear, temporarily away, I guess.
Yeah. Out of 100 cases, how many would you say that come to you that are legitimate cases that you and your investigators, including your son, actually do a hardcore investigation on?
Well, if they're not, if they're on site, obviously we do thorough investigations over the phone. I mean, obviously, we're getting those messages anyway, and the client does not have to be on site where something occurred. But I could tell you that, I want to say 100% of the time we've given them, I don't want to use the word closure, but for all intents and purposes, I will say closure. So we've been successful in that regard.
Would you say that
they understand? Yeah.
Would you say that the fear that people feel is just because they don't understand what is happening, and once they do understand, that fear is gone and they can live in harmony with the spirit?
Yes. I that's what we've seen in the hundreds of cases that we have. It's more of an understanding that spirit exists, and that that they're being watched over or protected, or given information. When I say protected, something might move. Let's say we had this one case where I don't know if I recalled this the last time, but where this man heard something fall in the bathroom. But when he went to the bathroom, there was nothing on the ground. I mean, nothing fell. But he knows the sound of this little container that had his child's little hair ribbons and all these different things. He heard a whole bunch of things and, wasn't quite sure. And Spirit came through and said that, don't worry, there's no one in the attic, and it's not us. Okay, so they're kind of I swear. And then it was very funny, But they said, as far as the hair, the container falling, I asked him, well, do you have a younger child at home? And he's like, yeah. I said, are they like crawling? Do they like to get into things? He's like, absolutely. I said, well, that sound might make you aware with the container, with the little hair clips and all that, to keep it way out of the reach of a toddler that may, crawl over to it and choke on it. And he goes, well, actually, he puts it on, he's got it on his wrist, he's putting it in his mouth.
Oh,
well, there you go. So kind of like common sense, spirit world. Does that make sense?
It does. It certainly does.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many cases have you and your group investigated thus far? Approximately.
I would have to say, including over the phone, probably, I don't want to exaggerate. I'm going to let Spirit help me, like 350, 400 maybe.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Maybe more. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Over the phone's easier. On site, on site's grittier, But yeah, it's really amazing what we capture. So yeah, hundreds.
What type of investigation do you get called out, for most? Is it a ghost? Is it poltergeist? Is it haunting? Is it demonic? Or which is the most prevalent in your investigations that you and your team will do?
Yeah, so the on-site ones usually are, I'm going to group them all together. Okay. So I apologize to ghost hunters out there. I'm going to group them all together for just paranormal activity, regardless of if it's a poltergeist or just spirit trying to get attention. I would say that most of the on-site are based on something happening where the client is literally afraid to be in their home, and those are like extreme measures. But that's what happens. So we'll go in there, and there's one place. This was really interesting. It was an ex-Marine. Retired, taking care of two of his daughters who were severely handicapped. One was in a wheelchair, and another
Joanne,
could not.
I'm going to interrupt you here because we have to go to a commercial break very shortly.
Oh, sure,
and I'd love to get back to the story about the ex-Marine as soon as we come back.
Absolutely.
X-Zone Nation, our guest this hour is Joanne AZOO. I hope I'm saying her family name right, Joanne. We're talking about the paranormal. We're talking about EVP. We're talking to Joanne. She is a specialist in EVP, Clairaudient, Empath, and the co-founder of OJAI Paranormal Investigators, along with her son, Brandon, who is an EVP Tech videographer and editor, as well as Clairaudient and seer. I'll be back on the other side of this very brief break as the X-Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. And you're also listening to us on Talkstar Radio, Mutual Broadcast Network, and of course, my favorite AM radio station in St. Catharines, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM. And you can listen to us on CFAJ AM, streaming around the world at www.classic1220.ca. And welcome back. Joanne AZOO is our special guest. AZOO, where did that come from? Wait a minute. Spirit. I was listening to a stuttering spirit. That was what happened there. Joanne AZOO is our special guest. And Well, ghost hauntings, things that go bump in the night. That's the season that we're getting into because Halloween is not that far away. And on this edition of your hometown radio show, Saturday, that is on Classic 1220 CFAJ here in St. Catharines. One of my guests are going to be the person in charge of the Greater Niagara Hamilton, or Humane Society, I should say. And then I'm also going to be talking to Rachel from the St. Catharines Downtown Association, and they have some great things to talk to us about Halloween, especially the pets. And we're going to be doing a special segment on your hometown radio show, talking to the Humane Society about the do's and don'ts when it comes to pets at Halloween. And I'll let you know more about that. And of course, you can find out all that information on our website, www.xzbn.net. All right, let's get back to that story about the ex-Marine.
Right. So he called us. He found us on the website and
Yeah.
called us and said, look, I'm not afraid of anything, but drawers in my kitchen are opening and slamming, and, and he's going through, all of these, where he hears knocking and pounding. And, we're like, hey, and he's got 2 daughters, like I said, that were, disabled.
Right.
And so we're like, yeah, we'll come out. We'll definitely come out. So we did, video. We don't really capture very much on video. And we debunked a couple things. There was a bug flying around. So I'm like, yeah, that's definitely not an orb.
Well, wait a minute.
I don't like bugs.
Wait a sec. I've seen Beetlejuice, and bugs are around Beetlejuice all the time.
Right? Like, I don't like bugs, so that's scarier to me than anything else. Like, have a spirit pull my hair, fine.
Okay.
Give me a bug, I don't think so. But it was interesting, and we did capture phantom sounds. Now, while we were in his front room, there was no one in his kitchen. It was not a very large place. No one in his kitchen, but we caught several times, several different investigations, phantom sounds where you're hearing people walk upstairs, you're hearing a key turn, it's like pretty crazy. And even at the, anyway, I can go on and on, but we'll stick to this. So we hear all this noise, right? And we go in there, nothing, okay? But then, we leave. We're like, well, we're going to go through all this evidence. And Spirit comes through with quite a few different names. And we're like 95% accurate. Let's just say maybe the other 5% might be they don't know or they can't remember if they know this person. They come through with 5 names. And we asked the client, so, are any of these, he goes, no, I don't know any of those names. Okay. So then he hears, so then it was like during the week, he hears something in the attic. He's never been in the attic, okay? It's a rental, so he's never been in the attic. Keeps hearing this thump and bang, and long story, after a couple times he goes up, he sees these lamps, old kind of fashioned lamps that are like tipped over. So he's like, oh, okay, that's weird. So he picks them back up. About the 3rd time he hears it, goes back up, he notices there's a newspaper article stuck inside of this lamp. The lamp, like the base of the lamp. Maybe they did that in the past. I don't really know. But anyway, he pulls it out, and it's a whole article about how this family, not living in L.A., but this family died in an airplane crash, and each name that came through on the EVP were their names. And then they said, watch the children. So I kind of always get goosebumps when I tell the story. So he's got the newspaper, right? It's like, wow, that's really crazy. All those names were on there. So I told him, so based on just being an empath and investigator combined, I just said, you said both your daughters go to school. Yeah, but I have a tutor a couple days a week. I said, okay, so maybe you should, do you pop in and visit? He's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, you need to do that. You need to pop in when they least expect you to pop in, and you need to watch over. They're saying watch the children. You could hear they're saying that. Well, I don't think anything. I know, but look, just please, just do that, and then we'll go to the next step if nothing turns out. Well, he pops in. He does what we asked, and sure enough, the tutor's screaming and yelling at this autistic girl that's nonverbal. And all the kitchen drawers and cabinets started opening. Everything's flying out. And the tutor saw all of that and ran out. And later they did find bruises on his daughter.
Oh, my gosh.
So Spirit was protecting the kids. And had they not given me that verbal, affirmation of watch the children, right, I probably wouldn't have known where to take it.
How does EVP work? Now, I've been in this business a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's analog or digital, I understand that you ask a question, pause, then ask another question, and you only hear the answer on playback.
Correct.
How do you explain that? It makes no sense to me.
I was pondering that. I was thinking, I love that word, ponder. I wanted
Isn't that
to
a
use
great
it.
word?
I was really like thinking about that, and the way that I would describe it would be, okay, I feel like we all have like these antennas, right? We're encapsulated in electromagnetic energy, everything. That's your aura.
Okay.
It's visible when they use certain cameras. I mean, you could literally see that energy field around living things and even inanimate objects.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that now this is just for me, okay, and I got zapped, in the temple, and I had this, amazing thing happen. I believe that my antenna, okay, became more electrified. And so where people talk about portals, I kind of don't use that word that much, but because I believe everything is open, everything. They can come in and out. It doesn't need to be a specific place. And just in my, in what we do. And so I think that while frequencies can be measured, there are other frequencies, just like visual, that we cannot see. Because, if we saw all of the frequencies that there are, visually, we would be blinded. So we can't see a lot of that. Just like hearing, just like, how dogs and, animals, they could hear on higher frequencies. We can't. It would probably drive us crazy. Now, I know with kids, when they're smaller, they still have that capability because, the environment hasn't, the regular environment hasn't damaged those cues, So I just feel that the way they're embedding it is because I can't, sometimes I could hear them, but most of the time I cannot. But that's how I know they're still going to embed it, even though I can't hear it, because they're coming through on a frequency that's immeasurable, at least right now.
It's like the dog whistle.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's what I believe.
What was it like the first time you tried an EVP session and you actually heard the voices plain as day?
Well, that was the very first one with my friend with all the lights went on. She didn't want us to do it at her house because, her husband thought that would just, I don't know, whatever. It didn't matter that he was a skeptic. He was just like, nah, don't do it here. So I'm like, okay, we'll do it at our house. And so we waited till night because we thought that's what you have to do. And my son was actually, I think he a junior? I don't remember what year he was in. I don't remember. But he had a couple pieces of, like, equipment, like little electromagnetic energy thing and whatever. He's like, yeah, this is going to be fun. Okay, this will be fun. So we were going around the house to make sure all the lights were out. My mom at the time did have Alzheimer's, and so she was in her room just, like, sleeping. And so, we went around our little merry way with the recorder. We're trying to be quiet, and, the lights kind of go off. But then we see, oh, yeah, when you put it up to an outlet, yeah, of course it's going to spike, right? So it was, I would say we did it. We had a grid. Anyway, we had a grid, and we didn't see anything. But it was fun. It was still kind of exciting, right? And it was in the comfort of our own home, right? And nobody else was scary place because this is the first time, right? So we were all done, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna listen. I'll listen tomorrow morning. And that was it, right? So I get up in the morning because I'm like thinking, we have some video, there's some lights, but we already debunked that. I have no idea. And I plugged the little recorder in and put the headphones on. And literally, I was like, wait, hold up, wait a minute. What? What am I hearing? So I rewind, I go back, I do a playback, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So when we started the EVP session, she called out her daughter's name and her nickname, and her daughter answered. And you could hear her say, "Hi, Mom."
Oh, gosh.
And she said her dog's name and the town that she was moving to, and that's when she passed. She was moving to this town, and she's like, oh, and anyway, so I'm listening to this first, right? Because I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? And then there were like 19 other messages, but not from her. There were some more from her, but then other people were coming through, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. So then when that end of the day, I had the neighbor come over. She listened, and she goes, "Oh, that's her voice. That's her voice." And so when you experience something that you're not expecting, and it's clear,
Right.
then it's an addiction. It becomes an addiction, but a good one, because now what you've done is pass through what I like to think of as time. Right? We're passing through time. Those are recent messages. I mean, so yeah, they're here, but you're getting these stories from people that aren't here anymore.
Joanne?
And it doesn't mean people that just passed either.
Joanne, please stand by. You and I have to take our break.
Sure.
At Exonation, if you'd like to find out more about Joanne, her exploits, her adventures, her expeditions, visit her website. It's that simple. OJAI Paranormal Investigators.com. And Joanne and I will be back on the other side as we continue talking more about the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology. We're right here in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in beautiful St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
In the cool of the evening when everything is getting kind of groovy, I call you up and ask you if you'd like to go with me and see a movie. First you say no, you got some plans for the night, and then you stop and say, alright, love is kinda crazy with a spooky little girl like you. You always keep me guessing, I never seem to know what you are thinking. And if a fella looks
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. My guest this hour is Joanne AZOO, and we're talking about her experiences as well as her cases that she's worked on with her son and the other members of her team, investigating the paranormal using cameras, using EVP, and all the other tools that paranormal investigators work with today. And we were last talking about the EVPs that you have collected, and you're dealing with time here, you were saying. Are we experiencing a time shift, or are we experiencing tapping into another dimension, another reality when we do EVPs?
Yeah, I believe it could be both,
Yeah, okay.
to tell you the truth. Yeah, I believe it could be both. It's quite interesting. So we're also, I'm going to tell you another application of EVP, electronic voice phenomenon.
Okay, great.
Another application which we accidentally found out. Now, I know there are people out there that are doing this, and they've been doing this as a profession for a long time. I'm like a newbie, in comparison. But one day, we were actually a birthday party surprise for a woman that used to be a Reiki master.
Okay.
So we were at this birthday. We didn't know we were going to be a birthday surprise. I was just glad we didn't have to jump out of a cake, but we would have been willing to, I guess. But we go to this place. Oh my God, it was gorgeous. It was a gorgeous place, right? And as soon as we walked in, all their lights started blinking on and off. And they looked, they went, yeah, we kind of knew that was going to happen. Well, okay, so it was a very successful investigation. Again, nothing really scary. We got a lot of people coming through. It just reconfirmed to them that, that it's not scary, but they also know that they're not alone, and their, family members came through. But here's what we realized. So the woman, just the sweetest woman, she lost her husband. It was her birthday. And it was she's living with the son and the daughter-in-law. And so we asked if she wanted to ask questions. We've got the recorders going. And she was so adorable. She's like, well, here's the thing. I want to ask questions, but I don't want my daughter-in-law hearing what I'm asking. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, so I'm just going to think of the questions. And I said, okay. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to, hey, you can't say no. I took improv. You can't say no.
Sure.
You can't say no. It doesn't go anywhere, right? So I'm like, okay, but you do understand when I go to listen, I'm going to be able to hear you asking the question. She goes, oh, yeah, I don't care about that. I just don't want her hearing it. Okay. So we, proceed to just record where she's thinking. She's thinking. We don't know what she's thinking. Okay. We don't know what she's asking. We have no idea. It was exciting, but it was, bizarre, because you're not hearing anything. And so, we continued on with the investigation. And when we got back to scrub through the audio, what we found was probably the craziest thing. Again, not scary, but we use wave pads so you can see, the spikes, right?
Sure.
I don't go based on that, but I like to see it. It just makes me feel like I can, like it's doing more. And it looked, as she's thinking her questions, you could hear her voice, and you could see a wave pad like she was hooked up to it, I guess, an EKG. I'm not a doctor, but like this wave of almost like an EKG would look. You could see it as she's thinking. Again, she was a Reiki master, so of course her energy would be, the frequency would be different. And you could hear her deceased husband wishing her happy birthday. And he asked why she didn't eat the cake. Just different, like a little conversation. It was amazing. So then I realized, well, if we can get that, then certainly we'd be able to get Alzheimer's patients, and which my mom at the time was, my son and I took care of her. She did have Alzheimer's for 2.5 years. She's talking to people. We got them on recording, quite interesting. But the biggest application was when one of our clients who had called because of her, it's a long story, but I get them calling me every couple times a year, and which I'm very flattered and able to help them. But this client's brother had a 7-year-old son with who is nonverbal, autistic, unable. He could not. The dad did not know what to do. Dad's a single dad, so she calls me and says he doesn't know what to do. So I'm wondering, could we see if Spirit has any advice? Because he thinks he might have to put him in a home because he's not sure he's getting through to him. And I said, absolutely. And so we didn't even we just with the permission of the brother, he gave her permission to ask. And what we received was something phenomenal. I didn't know the age of the boy or anything. He comes through, okay, or spirit in his, but I'm saying that it's him, even though he's alive, saying that he's 7 years old. He talks about his favorite toy. He says, I understand what you're saying. I mean, in so many words or less, but I'm slow. So the day, and I'm getting goosebumps. And then he talked about like something else that the dad started laughing, like, you know, when when his sister gave him that information and said, yeah, that's him. That's him. And these are things that I understand. And so he realized that he is getting through to his son, and has been taking care of him.
That's very interesting. What kind of recorder were you using? Were you using a digital or an analog?
You know what? I use a digital, and it's actually called. They don't make them anymore, but it's a digital EVP recorder called an RT EVP.
Okay.
RT meaning real time. But I don't use it in real time because that means you can play back, 30 seconds. I don't want to do that because I don't want to interrupt spirit.
Right.
But that's what I use, and I always use a backup. I haven't been too lucky with some of the recorders that I've had. Like I'm using a Sony for like a backup. But they get different messages. It picks up a different frequency. But all I know is one time all the batteries went out in the recorders, and we had to go back to this place the next day.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, I don't care how many we have to bring. I'll listen to them all, But so the application on that, so to know that you could actually hear, you're hearing either if it's spirit that's communicating to the child, or to the Alzheimer's or dementia. We also worked with and someone in a coma. We went to a hospital.
Wow.
And she's telling us her favorite sports, and then we got a whole bunch of people that were in that hospital before, and they're saying hi. It was quite amazing.
So how do you select that one specific person that you're trying to contact and communicate with? Like, as you said, when there are other spirits who say, hey, somebody's got a tape recorder and a microphone, let's go over there and say hi.
Exactly. Well, we always know, just based on our experience, that there will always be more than one person coming through. We let the client know we don't have control over, over who comes through. And, sometimes they hear their ex-mother. No, I'm not putting down mother-in-law, but one client was like, oh, why'd she come through? I said, yeah, but she's giving you your nickname, so, it's all cool. She's good with it, No, seriously, it's really cool. But so we don't know. We have a general idea who's going to come through, and usually will be several that will come through. And it doesn't matter, and I know you were asking about the majority of the clients. A lot of them really just want to hear from their family members. They just want confirmation, or they have questions that they thought were gone forever, or they're not going to get the answers. We have people asking for passwords. Recently, a client that wanted to know, are we going to be able to retrieve some of their belongings? And the brother comes through, and he's like, that's, well, let's just say he pretty much said, it's garbage. She laughed. The sister laughed really hard.
Speaking about mother-in-laws, two guys sitting at a bar. One guy looks at the other guy and says, you know what? My mother-in-law's a real angel. The other guy says, you're lucky. Mine's still alive.
That's a good one. Put-em-pump.
Has there ever been a case when you've listened to the recording playback and you just can't believe what you're hearing because it sounds so far-fetched, and yet there you are listening to it?
I will say, when people do ask me, like, my favorite, I cannot pick a favorite investigation, because each investigation comes through, and I'm not just saying this, I'm totally telling the truth. It's mind-boggling. And again, that's why, I'm dedicated to this, and we're dedicated to this helping people, because, Yeah, you're hearing them from one scenario to another. A suicide. It was a suicide case, but we weren't really investigating the person that committed suicide. It was a family that the brother-in-law was living in. I don't know if I had talked about this, but just to give you an idea, so they he had to move in with his brother and sister-in-law because his wife left him. So they hear a motorcycle in their house. They hear a motorcycle, and they all get up. And they're like, there's no motorcycle, but they could smell the gas. They look outside, nothing. Anyway, so we're doing a recording. I don't hear a motorcycle, but hear the recording. And it's a man. He gives his first and last name. He had committed suicide, and he had lived in the house, but he got on his motorcycle because his wife left him, and he deliberately killed himself. And he is telling the guy that's thinking about killing himself not to do it. He goes, you don't want to end up looking like you don't want that. And talked him out of it. And he became, and actually I still am in contact with him today, and he really is changed because of it.
Fascinating
Isn't
story.
that interesting? And the neighbors confirmed that's his voice, that was his name, and that's what happened. So very interesting.
Wait a sec. Before we go on, you and I have
Sure.
to take our final break, so please stand by. And
Okay.
X Zone Nation, our guest is Joanne AZOO. And if you'd like to find out more about Joanne and her paranormal investigation team, just go to OJAIParanormalinvestigators.com. And we'll be back as we wrap up this hour, the first hour of tonight's show, with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and Mutual Broadcast Network. Don't go away.
Then you stop and say, alright, love is kinda crazy with a spooky little girl like you. You always keep me guessing, I never seem to know what you are thinking. And if a fella looks at you, it's for sure your little eye will be away.
Hello? How are you? Have you been alright? Through all those lonely, 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 lonely nights. That's what I'd say. I'd tell you everything if you'd pick up that telephone. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, how you feeling? Are you still the same? Don't you realize the things we did were all for real, not a dream? I just can't believe they've all faded out of view. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. Joanne AZOO is our special guest. And their website is, all right, do you have your pencils and paper ready? Oh, because here we go. OJAIParanormalinvestigators.com. What has been the most hair-raising paranormal investigation that you and your other investigators have gone on? The one that you said, oh my God.
Okay, that would be the funeral home investigation in Ventura.
All right.
And that was a, oh my God. And I don't know if I touched on that. I don't think I did on the last one. But basically, we were invited to a funeral home. And we went during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we had all of our equipment, setting up our equipment. They gave us a little tour. We had our recorders running. And the owner, he gave us some insight into some of the things that, that occurred during his being there, and they actually had living quarters upstairs, which we were able to go to as well. And while we were in the area, I guess the chapel area, well, what Spirit did later was we're calling it a chapel, and they corrected us. Like, now it's not a chapel. But anyway, it looked like a little chapel, and they had like a casket. No one was in it. It was just like for show. And all of a sudden, as we're in there, my son and I hear, and we have it on recorder and video. So we're capturing the voice, and it was really fast. My son looked at me, I looked at him, and like, did you hear that? I go, yeah, it was a name. I said, okay, you go first. He goes, it sounded like they said like Rebecca, and I said, yeah, I just kind of heard Becca, and then we could hear her singing. So we're like going around, we're trying to think. There's no one, it's a big lot around it, so there's not someone outside. And so then we're letting the recorder run, and then we ask the owner, hey, do you know anybody by this name, by Rebecca? It was real fast, well, no, blah, blah, blah. And so he's like, you know what, I'm going to go check. So at the very end of the investigation, that is posted on our website, it was a while ago, but this was the oh my God point. So he comes back out, and as we're ending it, and he says, okay, so you guys were really close. We're like, close, what are you talking about? Because it's already been like another, half an hour. We don't even know what he's talking about. He goes, no, the name when you said Rebecca, it was really, really close. So, I mean, I'm going to tell you because it was so close. I'm like, oh, we're like laughing and just like holding our breath. Like, and he goes, her name was Roberta. So we're like, oh okay, well, because it was fast. Roberta, huh? So was that someone that lived here? Because a lady did come through telling us that she died during the big flu epidemic, like in the early 1900s. Mm-hmm. So we're getting all this information, and anyway, he says, no. Okay, well, you guys were investigating in the front part of the funeral home. We got a call, and our guy went to pick up a woman that had expired at a nursing home, brought her back, and I'll say it a little nicer, but she was in holding in the garage where all of our EVP and all the equipment had been lighting up, but we didn't know.
Wow.
So it was her. Yes. And so you hear her say her real, she's like, it's Roberta. And then you hear her singing. So we said, oh, do you think we could, like, let her family, like, hear? He goes, no, because it's too confidential, But they would have recognized the song she was humming. But she's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, I would say, the biggest oh my God moment.
So here we have funeral home karaoke, right?
Yes.
You don't have to drink the spirits; they're there already. Yeah,
no. Oh, we got started. So every place we go to, it doesn't even matter where. We're always going to get something. That's why we know, and we kind of, I don't want to say brag, but yeah. Spirit's given us some good boosts. So I would say everything we do, we're always going to get results.
How long does it take you and your team to do a paranormal investigation on site?
On site, you know what? We usually figure a good hour and a half or so, 2 hours. Our stuff is like non-invasive equipment, so we're not having to set up, cables for cameras, et cetera. It's just all handheld, which I think nowadays they're doing that anyway. But when the ghost hunters did start, it was like just, they're cabling up everything. But I think people appreciate that when we're not doing that, just going in and, it's kind of like very nonchalant, I guess, or very casual. Mm-hmm. And so I would say, we figure about an hour and a half. We don't go any longer than that. We don't do overnight where we're locking ourselves up in bed. I wouldn't want to do that. I'd be like, let me out. But, we know we're going to get results, so we don't have to go through all of that. And, within an hour and a half, literally, we can get, I don't know, again, maybe 200 messages that are Class A. Their sentences. We've even helped investigators over the phone when they're on investigations. They're like, we don't know what they're saying, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, So that's kind of fun. I like that. We would love to get together with another paranormal team and go on a bigger investigation. But yeah, that's pretty much all it takes. And over the phone, it's 10 minutes. We do, by the way, have upcoming. We started creating content. We have an upcoming, exciting new things we're going to be posting, and that is what we're doing on our own. Not anybody else involved, but we're going to be doing that next week, posting it. It should be really exciting. And but we're ready to help people, and we allow those people that if they're our clients, and let's say, okay, we're going in home, they become part of the investigation. They are carrying equipment. They're able to, it's where they're interacting, and that takes the fear away as well. When they're actually, seeing the responses, it's quite interesting.
Do you get busier towards Halloween?
It doesn't. People, I'll tell you, kind of, but this is all year long. We do things all year long. But maybe in the summer when people are on vacation, they're not really thinking too much about anything. But I would say, yeah, sure, around Halloween. But the holidays, definitely. But yeah, we do. It's what we do is all year long. And
so is there any time of the year? Is there any time of the year where you're busier than any other time of the year?
With in-home investigations or on-site rather, not really. I would say probably the fall. We'll go with the fall. But with everything else, depending on circumstances, people are calling. Like we had a client call. The brother was in the hospital, and I guess the wife wasn't going to let the family come and see him. And they just wanted to know. Yeah, they just wanted to know. They wanted him to know that they were there. And when he passed, the biggest question on especially the mom's part was, well, I just want to know, did he know we were there? And so he comes through, and he says someone living told him. In other words, so when he was in the hospital, it wasn't like somebody later, like in heaven, told them. They did know. And then he came back saying, because they had two chairs out in the hallway, and the sister got hungry, and she only told me this after, obviously. And he says, sis had to leave because she was hungry. And she goes, that's exactly what happened. She's like, you know what? We can't sit here. We got to get something to eat. So he's letting them know, yes. And then he gave a couple more messages that were, again, confirmations. And, while tragic of a situation that is and will always be, Spirit is coming through to give comfort and confirmation. That, it's all about unconditional love. So, yeah, and to me, so when there's this, oh, my God moment, that's another one. It's all, it goes from one extreme to another, but the main event really is Spirit coming through and giving us information that's helping everyone. And us, too. It helps us as well.
I would imagine that one of the greatest joys of your job is giving closure to a lot of people and letting them know that even though their loved one isn't here with them, that they remain in existence on the other side, and they're always with them no matter where they go or whatever they're doing. They're never alone.
Yes, amen. And that is a message that we receive from Angelic as well, that we are never truly alone. They're always alone.
Listen, the time is coming very soon when you and I must say so long. So let our listeners know how they can contact you.
Okay, yeah, just go to our website at ojaiparanormalinvestigators.com, and we do have a contact page. You can give a call or drop an email, and we'll be more than happy to set something up, and they could have their own experience. It's different when you're talking about it, but when you actually are experiencing something very phenomenal, it just changes a lot of things.
Especially when you know that the evidence that you're picking up on your EVP or on your video recorder and you can't determine what it is, and you go through all the benchmarks before the investigation, you do the beta testing on all your machinery, and you've got this voice. And this voice
Absolutely.
is from the other side, giving you information that only the person that you're communicating with on the other side would have knowledge of. Fascinating. Joanne, take care of yourself. Thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone.
Oh, thank you, Rob. And I appreciate you and everything you're doing for the community. And congratulations again on your 36th anniversary. And here's to 40. Let's go to 40.
All right, you bring the 40-pounder, I'll bring the 40 years. Have a nice one, dear. Bye-bye.
Thank you. You as well.
All right, Exonation, if you'd like to contact our guest this hour, what a lady, Joanne AZOO, visit, you got to pencils, OJAI Paranormal Investigators.com. I'll be back on the other side as hour number 2 starts right now in the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, and Mutual Broadcast Network. And for those in St. Catharines, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, streaming around the world on classic1220.ca.